We'll call the meeting to order. Start off with the pledge. Please stand, place your hand over your heart, and follow me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United
States of America
and to the republic for which it
stands,
one
nation,
under
God,
indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all.
Vice President Schaefer, would you do the invocation, please?
So I will. If you'd all please join me. Thank you for the opportunity to meet and deliberate this evening. We ask again that you provide guidance in our decisions. And as we move towards normalizing things in our society, please guide us to a safe and healthy environment. Amen.
Good job.
Amen. Now, Madam Clerk, would you do the roll call, please?
Yes. Director Brett Eccles.
Here.
Director Arthur Perry.
Here.
Secretary Arlene Schaefer.
Here.
Vice President Michael Schaefer.
Here.
And President Robert Uten.
Here.
Thank you.
Have there been any late communications?
No, Mr. President.
And I don't believe there are any ceremonial matters or presentations.
Correct.
Does anyone has anyone raised their hand to do a public comment?
Hi, this is Sue Lester. I would like to make a comment if that's okay.
Sure, now's the time. Is it general or is it on a specific item?
No, it's general.
Okay, go.
Okay, hi everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Sue Lester as a resident, not as a CAC member. I just have two things I want to mention. Actually, I have one question and then I have one thing I want to mention. The thing I want to mention is I participated in the Citizens Advisory Protection webinar that was done. And I wanted to compliment staff for the great presentation and also the different entities that participated. Having been through the actual in-person program and comparing it to the one that was done online, you guys did an excellent job capturing all that information and slamming it into a Cliff Notes version that was really understandable and clear and interesting. So I wanted to compliment you on that. I was really curious as to why Mesa Water doesn't participate when we had Irvine Water District and Orange County Water District, but not Mesa Water. I thought that was really kind of odd. And I don't know if that's a quick answer that you could do now or for later, but that was one question. And then the other question I actually had is I understand that CAC member Adam Aris has stepped down because he was appointed to the City of Costa Mesa Planning Commission. And I was just curious if you guys are gonna replace him with maybe one of the other applicants, or just not replace him, or open it up to new applications all over again. And that was it. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Sue. Let's go on with the agenda.
This is Mike Carey. Can I make a comment too, please?
Oh, yes, sir.
Thank you. Again, this is Mike Carey. I want to make two quick comments as a resident, not in any other fashion. I wanted to echo what Sue said. I was going to bring that up as well. I thought the Citizens Environmental Protection Academy last week was done in a fantastic fashion, and I'd like to congratulate staff. On a separate note, I'd like to let you guys know that the OCC Recycling Center has announced that they are going to open up next week. So next Tuesday, they'll be open. So
great.
Thought you'd be interested in that.
Thank you, Mike. Any other public comments?
Well, Bob, I can respond to Sue. I think that we had an email that we're going to be opening up applications for the CAC. Is that correct, Scott?
Yes, we are. We're going to do another recruitment for that open position, just like we did previously.
Okay, that's just an answer for Sue.
And I can, if Mr. President, I can address her other question regarding Mesa Water District if you want me to.
If
I'd like
you
to do
would,
that
please.
too.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. I'd be happy to. Yes, we asked Mesa Water several times to participate in SEPA. Unfortunately, they just do not accept our invitations. Why, I don't know. I do know they did donate some materials to the virtual SEPA that was offered. Because we know water is such a big issue in our community, that's why we invited Irvine Ranch Water District, because they do serve as part of the community. But obviously, we did reach out to Mesa Water, and they just declined our invitation. So for reasons unknown.
Scott, did we reach out to them on this particular one?
Yes.
Or,
yes,
okay.
we always reach
right.
out to them.
Okay. Well, we can talk about that sometime with them.
Thank you very much.
Let's go on to the consent calendar. Does any director would any director like to pull an item or for further discussion or questions? If not, do I have?
I'll move for approval, Bob.
Do I have a second? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Let's move on down the agenda. Okay, the first item is to provide direction to staff regarding wastewater maintenance, staffing, and equipment needs. Scott, will you be doing this or?
Yes, I will. Thank you, Mr. President. So on March 9th, staff presented to the board their recommendation of hiring 2 wastewater maintenance workers, acquiring 1 ramjet cleaning unit, and 1 utility pickup truck for the fiscal year 2021-22 budget. At that March 9th meeting, the board directed staff to report back with additional information. And so now we have that information available for you, and that's what we're presenting to you tonight is that additional information. First up, the board wanted to know how does the overtime factor in on the on-call services? And as you can see in the last 2 fiscal years, we were averaging about $10,000 a year in overtime. And the number is way down this fiscal year. With only 2 months left in the fiscal year, we'll probably spend less than $5,000 on overtime. Overtime costs are really hard to predict because of the unknown and unforeseen circumstances like SSOs, both public and private SSOs, emergency repairs, sometimes unscheduled leave time off from staff. It's hard to predict what our overtime cost is going to be. We really believe, as I mentioned on March 9th, the real benefit is for the additional 2 maintenance workers is avoiding any potential burnout from staff for being on call so frequently. As you know, we're down a staff, and so filling that vacant position and having 2 additional staff, we believe will help with the on-call services. Next, the board wanted to know the percentage of contractor work reduced if the district hires 2 additional wastewater maintenance workers. And staff believes approximately 10% of the contractor's workload would be reduced at a savings of approximately $62,000. Also on March 9th, the board wanted to know why it was necessary to have $1.6 million in asset replacement fund. The asset replacement fund has approximately $1.6 million in it, and that's because there was approximately 52 items on our list of assets to be replaced, and those assets are scheduled to replace at the end of their useful life. Those assets include, in addition to the vehicles, includes pumps, generators, radios, computers. As the items increase, as we increase that items, and based on the value of those assets, the asset replacement fund does fluctuate, but right now we have $1.6 million, and that's due to the 52 items that we have scheduled for replacement. For recruitment, the board had concerns because we've had a challenging time filling the vacant wastewater maintenance position for some time now. And that's just not CMSD experiencing that challenge. It's really an industry-wide challenging in the wastewater profession of finding people, for one, who want to work in the wastewater industry, and then 2, finding people who have some experience. The good news is that I believe we found a new recruitment tool that, if successful, can be the way of the future for the wastewater industry. Recently, we entered into a contract with Operational Technical Services that provides temporary workers experience in the water wastewater profession. The OTS employee will have experience in wastewater collection maintenance, which allows the temporary employee to hit the ground running when they arrive at the district. After working for the district for a while, like a few months, we believe if we believe the person is a good fit for us, we can make a full-time offer to the OTS employee. Now, there is a conversion fee ranging from 15 to 25% of the person's salary, but at 5 months, the district would not owe a conversion fee to OTS. So it's between 1 month of 5 months that conversion fee would range between 15 to 25%. Obviously, the longer we keep the employee, the lesser the conversion fee comes. So depending on the experience of that person, the hourly rate can range from $62 to $72 an hour, and the cost would range anywhere between $25,000 to $49,000, or $31,000 to $57,600, depending on the hourly rate, for about 2.5 to 5 month period. So the question you might be asking us, well, why would someone want to work with OTS and not apply directly to the district, right? And it's a good question. And my answer to that question is certainty. Just like we want to make sure that the OTS employee is a good fit for us, it's the same for the OTS employee. That person, he or she, wants to make sure that the culture is great for that person. It's always hard to engage what is it like in organizations until you get inside that organization, right? A lot of times you hear great things about an organization, but once you get inside, you find, well, this is not what I'm hearing from the outside. It's a lot different. And that could be true for the OTS employee. Maybe that employee does not want to work in our culture, and that OTS employee has the option to go somewhere else and still be employed. So it's that certainty. I think that's why you would see the certainty is the answer why an OTS employee would work for us as a temp rather than apply directly. So next, the board wanted to know if we can adjust.
Wait, Scott,
yes.
Can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
First?
Absolutely.
Okay. In the temp position, if we have someone come on board, do we have to pay any benefits to them? And can they do standby duties?
No, we do not pay benefits. The benefits is all paid by the OTS. So we just pay the flat rate of the hourly rate. Okay. Yes, they can be on call. Definitely they can be, but it also does depend on where they live. If they live close to the district, they can be on call. That is a possibility, sure.
Okay, thank you. That answers my questions.
Okay. Okay, thank you. So next was the cleaning frequency, and the board wanted to know if we can adjust our cleaning frequency. Right now we currently clean at 18 months. Can we adjust that frequency? So on April 1st, management met with the wastewater department. We went to the yard and had a discussion with staff, and we had a discussion to want to know, would they want to do something similar that OCSD, the Orange County Sanitation District, does to maintain their collection system. Basically, how OCSD maintains their system is that any pipe with 6 inches to 8 inches, they clean those smaller pipes 1 year, and larger pipes like 42-inch lines are once every 5 years. And anything larger than 42 inches is as needed basis. So we put that the question to the staff, and they believe we should keep the 18-month cleaning cycle because they believe postponing cleaning larger pipes will create a buildup and will require a longer cleaning times. So if the board does give us the green light to hire the 2 additional wastewater maintenance workers, which we have 3 crews, staff recommended having 2 cleaning crews focus on all the 8-inch pipes in our system, which is about 85% of our system. So 85% system is 8-inch pipe. And then the 3rd crew would focus on all the pipes larger than 8 inches, and then they could also focus on some CCTV cleaning. Next, the board requested a comparison of SSOs with Orange County coastal agencies because they have many lift stations like CMSD. So it was more like comparing apples to apples if we would compare with coastal cities. So on your staff report and on your screen here are 10 agencies that I think are very similar to the district. And if you look at the last 5 years, we are below the average for the number of spills and the number of spills per 100 miles. But if you take Laguna Beach out of that equation, because as you see, that's the most significant factor. If you take them out of the equation, now we're above the average. So that was interesting. Next, the board wanted to know about productivity. They directed staff to explore opportunities to improve our cleaning productivity. And again, so we went to the yard and we discussed with staff about the ramjet unit. And we mentioned this last March 9th, and the board directed us to purchase the ramjet right away. And we shared that with staff. And surprisingly, they believe the ramjet might not be the best equipment for cleaning purposes, because sometimes when you're cleaning, debris does get lodged in the system and it does require vacuuming. And so if that was the case, if they're using the ramjet and something got lodged, well, now they're going to have to pull a crew somewhere else, one of the other crews elsewhere in the community, and bring that crew over to vacuum up the debris, and that could be unproductive. So staff says that if we're going to buy additional equipment, they do recommend that we buy another combination sewer cleaning unit instead of the ramjet. We also researched the possibility of acquiring a recycling combination sewer cleaning unit, which uses wastewater to clean the sewer pipes. And the thinking was that if staff does not have to fill the water tank for an entire week, then maybe that would improve our productivity rather than going to the fire hydrants where they go 2 or 3 times a week to fill the trucks. If they don't have to do that, maybe that'll increase our productivity. Well, again, after discussing with staff, what we found was that our gravity lines, they're very light in flow, which means it's going to take a while. It would probably take longer to fill the tank with wastewater than it would with using the fire hydrants. Furthermore, we're not charged any fees from Mesa Water to using their water, because we do have a mutual aid agreement with them that they allow us to use the fire hydrants at no charge, to use the water from the fire at no charge. And then we clean their clarifiers every once in a while at no charge. Furthermore, at these recycling wastewater trucks are extremely expensive, about $600,000 a piece, and they require a lot of maintenance, and staff did not want to touch that. So staff was not too pleased or not too keen about the recycling wastewater truck. Now we did identify a piece of equipment that could improve our productivity, and that's the jet scan, which attached to your staff report is a little more information about the jet scan. And what that does, it puts a camera on the jetter hose. And so basically what happens is if the guys are cleaning and they come up with some obstruction, well, now they got to pull the camera out, and then they remove the nozzle for the water that cleans the pipes, and they put the camera in, and now they could put the hose back in and see what's obstructing. That can improve our productivity, because now we don't have to make notes of it, and then at a later time call in the CCTV equipment and set up traffic control and see what's causing obstruction. It would definitely give us some real-time answers of what's causing obstructions, and then we could take immediate action. So I did put that in the budget for next fiscal year. They're about $10,000 a piece, so we did budget it for 2 of them for next fiscal year. And that concludes all the information we have that the board wanted us to bring back to you tonight. Again, if you do recommend or do approve staff's recommendations, we do not have enough revenues in our budget to fund these expenses. So again, my recommendation is to do a sewer rate study in 21, 22, find out what that new rate was going to be if we include these expenses. If the board approves that, or you're comfortable with that new rate, then we do the Prop 218 hearing. And if we don't get a majority protest, then we can do a budget adjustment in our 22-23 with the new revenues along with the new expenditures. So we can come back later next year with the budget adjustment if you approve this recommendation. So that concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do any of the directors have questions?
Yeah, I do, Bob.
Art.
Okay, one, Scott, in our current budget, do we have any money available for any of these purchases?
Yes, we could purchase the combination sewer unit. We would use it out of fund balance. I don't recommend it. I'd rather wait until we do a rate study. But if you really want to purchase one now, yes, we can do it.
No, I'm not saying that. I don't know if we have money available for something else, maybe another staff member or 2 staff members.
I don't know. I don't have any money right now for staff. No, but we do have money for buying equipment.
Okay, that answers my question.
Any other directors have questions?
Mr. President.
Director Echols.
Scott, I have several, so I'll throw it against the wall and you can peel them off. A question about the OTS. Are they, I mean, it says it's a temp agency, not like a recruiting firm. And that's how you would staff maybe one or more of these going forward. Can you just describe what that looks like versus, say, a typical recruiting firm? And then hiring, say, 2 additional staff members. I mean, right now, about $10K in overtime, 10% reduced, contracted work. It doesn't seem like high percentages or numbers to me. What would that do with hiring additional staff? And then how long have we had the vacant position for the single staff member?
Last question, Dana, do you know how long we had that vacant position? It's been several months now, hasn't it?
It has been several months. I'd have to look back at when the recruitment started. We have been having a tough time this time. So previously we recruited for a wastewater maintenance worker 1. We did not have success. We were having some issues finding somebody that could pass all of our background. And then we decided that we would recruit for a wastewater maintenance worker 2, which would require a grade 1 collection certificate and a commercial driver's license. And unfortunately, we're having a really hard time finding candidates that meet our qualifications. Gosh, I don't know, Scott, would you say January is when we started? We decided we'd recruit for the wastewater?
Yeah, I think you're right. It's been a while. It's definitely been a while, yes.
Okay. No, yeah, that gives me the general idea. Okay. And sorry, so Scott, maybe pick apart any of the other.
Yeah, let me go back to your first one regarding what's the difference between OTS and a recruiting firm. Okay. So typically on these type of positions, we don't use a recruiting firm or like a headhunter positions. Those are usually handled on executive positions. And I would say the big difference is, recruiting firm, they go out and find you the best person based on, paper and interviewing. But you really don't know if that person's a good fit. And once you make that hire, the recruiting firm pretty much, washes their hands, they're done, they go off and do the other thing. The great thing about the OTS is that, as I always said, we're always looking for the person with the right fit. If we hire someone from OTS on a temporary basis, and this person is not a good fit for us, we go back to OTS and say, hey, this person's not working for us, please give us someone else, right? So then they can go and give us someone else until we can find that person who's a right fit for us. So I think that's a good benefit. They're with us as long as we need them, where the recruiting firm, they're there just on a short-term basis, and they say, well, okay, we got you your position, your applicants. Okay, now we separate our ways, go our own ways. I think that is the big difference.
Got it. That makes sense. Okay.
Now, the 10% contracting. Can you?
And basically, just 2 numbers. So that let's just say a couple of years ago is 10K in overtime, and then 10% is outsourced or contracted out, however you want to phrase it. Hiring those just in my opinion seem on the lower end of things in the grand scheme. What do hire, potentially 3 staff members do to those numbers?
Well, like I said, the outsourcing would be reduced because now I have. That was the main reason why we contracted out, is because we had some unscheduled leave or we had breakdown in some vehicles, and we couldn't rent any vehicles, or we didn't have any equipment out in the field. I believe the hiring the 2 additional maintenance workers would reduce our outsourcing. If we have staff that's on scheduled leave, we will not get behind in our cleaning. As I said, with our 2 additional wastewater workers, we actually probably get ahead of our cleaning. And then if we have any on leave, we won't get behind. And that's what got us in trouble in 2018. We just got way behind in cleaning. That's why we had all those sewer spills.
Gotcha. And then just if I'm understanding the recommendation, now the budget we just reviewed in our study session did or did not include the vacant staff member?
Include the vacant one, but not the 2 additional maintenance
Right.
workers or the additional equipment. But it does include the vacant one, yes.
So, okay, so when we, again, review the budget over next couple of meetings or whatnot, that will be in there and we can toy with that position within the existing recommended budget proposal, right?
Sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, I guess toying with the additional, with the existing position we have budgeted.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure the information that we're seeing includes that one
Yes,
person.
it does.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. I have some opinions, but those are my questions. So that's all I have for right now.
Okay.
Any other directors have questions on this staff report?
Yeah, Bob, it's Mike, just a comment.
Yes.
I know over my career of hiring and firing employees, both as in the corporate part of State Farm and then individually, I have used temporary work services pretty extensively. And I will say that probably in my memory, 2 or 3 of the best employees that ever worked for me were hired through temp agencies. I think, Scott, you ought to look pretty heavily. I don't disagree with this kind of action. I think when you look at hiring an employee and you're not sure they're going to stay, if you have the option of letting someone temporarily do the job to see if they're a good fit, and then you make the decision whether you can, and I'm not sure how to say this other than trade them in or replace them, I think it's something we ought to consider. So I just wanted to voice that opinion on using OTS if we get down to it. The other question I had, Bob, is, Scott, in the staff recommendation, the 2 things that you had put on there, the water recycler truck and the jet scan.
Yes.
Is the jet scan, the staff is not recommending we use that?
No, it's the jet scan it's the recycling wastewater truck we're not. We don't recommend buying that.
The water recycling system.
Yeah, that's the $600,000 truck that we do not recommend acquiring. It's jet scan that puts the camera on the hose. Okay,
and that's the truck that recycles wastewater to clean wastewater.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
All right. Thanks for clarifying it. That's all. Can I make one other comment, Bob?
Sure.
During the meeting, could we just ask everyone to please mute themselves? We keep getting little comments and little things from folks that probably aren't intending for us to hear. So if just out of common courtesy, if everybody could mute themselves, that'd really be appreciated.
Scott, do any of the other directors have questions? I have a couple. Okay, so hearing none. When I reviewed the performance chart, page 20, and in the in the performance charts later, we have successfully cleaned to our goal for the most part. So I'm not of the opinion, that we need two staff. I think if we had 1 additional staff and they were properly equipped, we wouldn't be having this discussion. We wouldn't have to be hiring outside cleaning crews, or and we would be able to successfully clean our system. That chart, I don't know if it's worth going to it, but it's on page 20 of the performance charts. And I have some other issues with that chart, the way it's presented, but it shows that we cleaned in the last quarter 27%, and we need to be at 16% in order to achieve our cleaning goal of 70% of the system per year. We may have done that with, we've done that probably by hiring additional or outside contractors. I'm not sure how we got there. The chart doesn't explain it, but and then if we hired one additional person, then I'm not sure that we need to hire or promote. Although I don't have much problem with the electrical maintenance supervisor, but I think with a crew of 5, we'd be able to clean the system completely with staff on leave, because we've historically cleaned it with 4 staff pretty nearly consistently for the last 4 or 5 years. So my recommendation is that we consider hiring one staff, and I don't care how we go about doing that. Maybe the OTS process would be helpful to us. If we had 5 staff, we'd be successfully cleaning our system. And if the staff were properly equipped with, or had the equipment, so it'll require another Vector truck and one staff, and then it takes into consideration, or then we have to take into consideration whether or not we would need, whether or not the present collection superintendent could handle 7 people. The staff report says that he probably can't handle 8 people, but anyway, any comments on that, Scott?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Regarding the performance measure you're talking about on which is on item E5, yes, we did meet our objectives the first 3 months, and yes, that is because of the contractors. We did, again, learning from our lessons from 2019 or 2019 or 2020 when we had all those sewer spills. If we were down a staff for a long period of time, we brought in the contractors in and played catch up, and that was a huge factor in making us achieving our goal. So that, yes, that is true. However, what I also want the board to consider is also look at the big picture. Remember I talked about earlier is about, even if we hire that addition, if we hire that vacant position, we would have six employees plus the superintendent. 5 of those 6 employees are on call. I have 1 employee that cannot be on call because he lives way too far. He lives too far to be on call. He's outside in Riverside County. So we don't put him on call because it's taking too long to get here. The additional workers, the additional staff would help with our CCTVing, but also help with our on call. So like I said earlier, it would not, my concern is that because they're on call so frequently, they could get burned out or they get frustrated because they don't get some time off. That's where I see the additional work could also help, in addition to cleaning, where yes, the contractors helped clean. Now, if you hire the 2 additional workers, they've taken place of the contractors.
Yeah. Well, when I had staff, I had several hundred staff at Orange County Sand District, and I can tell you they salivated over working overtime. So we had to hold them back, because they'd volunteer for every overtime. Anyway, I think we ought to, my recommendation would be to do this in a stepwise fashion. And if we can successfully clean by adding 1 additional worker and properly equip them, I think that's a place that I would recommend we start from. The CCTVing, if there are 5 staff on the site, we could do some of the CCTVing, but we've brought in our CCTV. We bought the CCTVing trailer, to do kind of an emergency CCTVing. You know, I don't see the benefit of CCTVing once a week, or having the staff to CCTV once a week, and then we're not going to be. We're probably well, it's going to be hard to acquire 6 staff members to stay on stay on our crews. It appears. I don't know that to be a fact, but anyway.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I don't know. I've got recommendation, suggestion, opinion, whatever you want to call it, but I can hold that. Are you going to call for public comment first and then we can go, or how do you want to handle it?
Well, you know, I don't have access to whether there are any public comments requested. We used to have when we were on site, we'd have a form and they could tell us.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. President, I don't see any hands raised at this time.
Okay, Director Eccles, do you want to make a recommendation?
Yeah, in follow up from you, Mr. President, your comments, I agree with. The numbers have been good with what we've had. Equipping them properly will go a long way. We just recently went over a proposed budget, and it is what it is. It's not pretty. We don't have the money for this right now. And so I hate to handcuff us by budgeting something that as of today, we can't support financially. So my recommendation would be, I think similar to yours, Mr. President, is keep in the vacant position. We budget that in this coming year and try to fill that utilizing OTS, which I agree with Vice President Schaefer. I think a very good move to do for future hiring, but to ask us to budget in the following year for 2 additional workers, I don't see how we can justify that at this point to even look at. And we're a little premature since we haven't even really dissected the budget that's before us anyway, that we have to get done in the next month or so. So I would just go along with keep that 1 maintenance supervisor in the budget review that we'll be reviewing in the coming weeks, and not necessarily budget for those 2 going forward. At this point, we could always do something in a year from now if the finances agree with that. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, we'll end up doing a study, you know, to see what the real costs are. Right. Are you of the opinion that we should or could hire 1 additional staff?
I think that's what I saw in the budget. I think Scott confirmed that was already in there for the initial budget we've already reviewed. So I would be okay filling that vacant position to bring it to 6.
Well, I'm still not sure, Director Eccles, we're on the same page. Okay. Scott is recommending adding 2 more staff. Are you recommending to add one additional staff, or just fill the position?
Just fill the current vacant position is all. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all we have authority to do, or he has authority to do right now.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah. Any other directors have any comments?
Hey, Bob, just a quick clarification from Scott. I thought we were on track to fill the vacancy, but that the additional 2 would come under consideration for next year as we talk about rates. Is that right, Scott?
Yes. So these 2 positions and the equipment would not be in the budget. They won't be in the top 2-year budget. If you give me the green light, then when we hire the consultant to do the engineer's report on the sewer rate study, we would tell the consultant, hey, add these expenditures, our future expenditures, the 2 additional wastewater maintenance workers, the additional equipment, and the other additional expenditures that we couldn't budget because we couldn't afford it, and then come up with a rate structure. What would that rate look like in the next 5 years? And then we present that to the board. And then again, you can say, oh, I'm not comfortable, it's too high. I don't want that. You know, that's go back to the drawing boards, come up with another rate structure, then that's fine. But the positions, the 2 new workers and the equipment would not be budgeted until the rates are approved by the board.
Okay.
And then,
okay.
Then we do a budget adjustment.
That's what I thought. But then the purchase of the equipment, you're planning on moving forward with that if we allow you to use fund balance, right?
Well, I don't think there. If you don't want to, if you want to hold off on hiring the 2 additional workers, then I really don't see hiring. I guess we could. Well, I guess we could buy additional equipment and use it as a spare, if you want to do that.
Yeah. Okay. That makes more sense. I appreciate that.
President Newton, I have a question.
Director Perry.
Okay, back to Scott again. Do we have any funds available now to hire an OTS worker?
Yes, we are hiring. Yes, we do.
Okay, that's what I think we should do. And that's like a short period of time, isn't it? Max 6 months or so?
Max would be 5 months.
I think we should think about that seriously, get that person on board to help us, and then we can see how things go. And then we'll see how the budget pans out. That's my comment. I think that'd be a smart move.
I agree. This is Mike. I agree with Art.
Do any other directors have input?
Mr. President?
Director Eccles.
Sorry, I might be the slow one today, so I just want to make sure I understand Director Perry and Vice President Schaefer. You're proposing just filling the current vacant position with an OTS person. Is that correct?
Not necessarily, because if we fill a position, we don't need the temp. But since we can't fill it, we get the temp now.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
And that still gives us the flexibility if we find that that golden replacement child, then the temp can go away.
Yeah, exactly right. Or if the temp works out, we may want to hire him.
That would not be a surprise, Art, to be honest with you.
I agree.
Do any other directors need to discuss this item further? So Scott, overall, what we would do, if we give you the green light to go ahead with this process, is we would do a sewer rate study in the next fiscal year.
Right.
And we could decide whether it would be 1 or 2 maintenance workers, see how that affects the rates. Correct. And
you might think the rate's too high, and so we can't afford those two workers.
Well, I think we should include it in the rate structure to begin with, or the rate analysis to begin with, and so then we don't delay making the decision by going back to have the consultant go through the process again.
Got it.
What is your understanding of the direction that we're giving you?
So the direction I'm getting from the board is to go ahead and fill the current budgeted vacant position using OTS as a temp, and we'll see how that works out. And if this temp works out, is a good fit for us, we will make an offer, full-time employment. If not, then we'll try another person from OTS. So I understand I'm getting direction from the board to go ahead and use OTS to fill this budgeted vacant position. Regarding the equipment and the 2 additional wastewater maintenance workers, correct me if I'm wrong, if what I'm hearing from President is that the board is saying it's okay to put that into the proposed rate structure when we do the rate study, come back to the board on what that new rate's going to look like, and then we can make a decision if we're going to hire the 2 additional wastewater maintenance workers and the equipment, and that'll be next fiscal year.
I think I concur. Do the other board members concur?
I think that's fine. I concur, Bob.
Okay.
I'm good.
Okay. Sound like a majority I think you have your direction, Scott.
Thank you.
We'll go on to the next item, which is select CSD banner for placement on the CR&R refuse trucks.
Thank you. Nolani, can you pull up Exhibit A, please? Thank you. Okay, thank you, Mr. President, Board of Directors. So this is the sign that was on CR&R's fleet for about 8 years, I would say, and we started about in 2012.
Yeah,
and the sign was removed because CR&R repainted their entire fleet, and they have been reluctant to put the size of the sign back on the truck. As you see, it blocks the branding. You don't see the CR&R Environmental Services on the side of the truck, and that was their concern. So, you know, they're losing their branding. According to our contract, our contract does say they have to put a banner on the truck that says Costa Mesa Sanitary District Recycles for you. Our consultant, Tripepi Smith, came up with a couple of banner ideas where we could still have these two, the large size banner, and it could still have CR&R's brand on it. And if Nolani, if you put up Exhibit B for me, please. So this is what Tripepi came up with. So if the board's okay with that, we need direction on, do you want the white sign or the green sign? And then as you see, CR&R can still have their brand on top of the banner. So I think this will work out fine. I just need direction from the board. One, do you like this design? And two, which color do you prefer?
I have a comment, Bob.
Director Perry?
I like the 1A, the white one, personally. I think it stands out a lot better. But I like 1A best between all of them. That's just my opinion.
And we, not the quarterly message thing on the below it.
No, that's every quarterly we come up with. It would be a new type of message, like a Christmas tree recycling, HHW collection.
Is this different? Did she just flip to another one?
Yeah, that one, I don't know what that one came up with. I don't remember seeing that one.
That's number 2.
But there are 3 pages to attachment B. So this is page 2.
Page 2.
And then this would be page 3. So there are actually 4 different designs from what I see.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I actually like number 2 because it's got a global image on it.
Is that what that is? A global image?
Yeah, that's what
it looks like. The Earth. Looks like the Earth to me on the right.
Okay, I could go for that, but that 1A has that also, just in a different color.
Yeah.
Do any of the other directors have a preference?
The 1A has a recycle sign, and it doesn't have the Earth behind it. We'll go through them again one more time.
Like Art said, I think the green, the predominantly green one, sort of blend. I don't know, maybe it's my own palette, but it just doesn't seem to look right against all that blue.
Yeah.
That's why I like the white one personally.
Yeah, I agree with the white one, but so 1A, let's go to 2. There's no white one there.
It's a mixture.
This is 3.
Okay, let's go to 3.
This is 3 here.
Okay.
I'll go back to 2. Here's 2.
Wow. Okay.
Go back to 1.
Mr.
Here
President.
is 1A, 1B.
Mr. President.
Director Eckel.
Just to really throw everyone off, I actually like the 1A background, but I agree with Vice President Schaefer with that. Can we combine 1A and 2?
Beautiful. I agree with Brett. That's to me, that would be the optimum.
Yeah, I agree.
What portion of number 2 would you like us to incorporate into 1?
Thank you.
Just take out the green behind recycles for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Put the white in there.
Yeah.
So put the globe in the recycling arrows in the white banner.
In 1A.
Yeah.
Okay.
I knew Brett had more of an artistic lean to him than the rest of us.
I knew that one art class I took in college would pay off someday.
Okay, does staff have direction?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let's go on to item 3. You'll have to go back to the agenda so I can see it. But
here it is.
Okay, this is the discussion about whether we should continue our membership in Santa Ana River Flood Protection Agency.
Thank you,
I have a comment, Bob.
It actually wasn't, if I may, Mr. President, it actually wasn't a decision if we want to continue membership. The question is why are we a membership of SARPA? That was the big question. The member of the public said, well, why are we a member of SARPA? And so the board directed staff to do some research. Why are we a member? Because we didn't know when that question came up to us. So it took us a little bit of digging around. If you scroll down a little bit farther, Nolani, on the staff report. There you go. Thank you. It took us a little bit digging around. Unfortunately, didn't have a lot of information. What we found by chance, I found minutes from the April 10th, 1997 board directors meeting. There was no staff report. It was just all I can find was the minutes. And all the minutes said is that apparently that Rob Hamers, our former district engineer, recommended to the board to become a member of SARPA because there were 2 pump stations as well as sewer lines in neighborhoods that could be subject to flooding. Now, in the minutes, he did not say what 2 pump stations they were or which neighborhood. So we had to do some little research with Mark Esker's assistance. We believe Rob was talking about Adams and Geisler pump stations. And as far as the neighborhood goes, we think it was Mesa Verde that Rob was talking about. The last paragraph of the staff report is just the latest update on the flood zone maps. On flood zone X is the FEMA map where where Adams and Geisler is located, as well as other pump stations, including California, Iowa, and South Coast Plaza. Those, the properties, including our assets in that Zone X, no longer requires flood insurance because of the improvements that's been done at the Santa Ana River. So the question that came up earlier is, what President Ewing said, is that necessary now? Do we still need to be in SARPA? That's something you can either wait, talk about it on May 6th. It's up to you, but our membership fee is $1,400 a month. I'm sorry, $1,400 a year. The board did ask staff to come back with some suggestions of what memberships we can possibly eliminate. This is one membership that's a possibility, but again, I'll leave it to the board on what you want to do. But that answers our questions, how we became a member of SARPA.
Okay, I have a comment, Bob.
Dr. Perry.
Okay, this agency, which I'm a member of, is coming to an end within probably a year and a half. And the agency has done a lot of political work to get things done to get us out of the flood zone. And we're now working on getting Fountain Valley and Huntington Beach areas out of the flood zone also, with some of the things that are being planned by Corps of Engineers and the federal government. So I think, like I told you a couple of months ago, that it's going to be an agency that we're going to be probably out of within like 1 year. And I'd like to continue with it just until, or another member of our agency continue with it until it is concluded, because they've almost concluded all the work. They have to raise the Prado Dam, another 28 feet, I believe, to make that area completely, 100-year protection. But so I think it's a valid agency because we get a lot of political use out. But that's my comment.
Yeah, no, yeah, I agree. I agree with Director Perry. I think they've raised the dam and now they have to finish raising the spillway, and that'll be completed. Their focus is on what they call the Winterset flood control area, which you described as those channels, those little channels that go down through Huntington Beach and Fountain Valley, and I think Sunset Beach, and
yes,
on the west side of the Santa Ana River. And I didn't realize, the agency would be completed with all this, on time frame that you mentioned it. But Is there any other discussion on this item from the
director? President?
Oh, go ahead, Brett.
Oh, sorry about. I'll just throw just a dissenting point of view, mix things up a little bit today. It sounds as though that this group is coming to an end, you know, next year or two, whatever it may be. And I've read the staff report and kind of listened, and I'm just not sure what our $1,400 is getting our district and our ratepayers in reality. And so for work that's going to come to an end anyway, this group going to come to an end anyway, I know we're going to have to really, you know, look at some ways to cut some budget numbers upcoming. And yes, I know $1,400 is a drop in the bucket, but if we can't cut $1,400, how are we going to be able to cut 10 grand or something bigger? So I'm just looking at ways to maybe cut low hanging fruit without cutting our legs off either. So that's just my opinion as to when the membership becomes due at the end or in May, June, whenever it is, maybe we don't continue it, but that would be my opinion.
Okay. Director Schaefer?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you know, I deal with FEMA and flood protection and flood zones and all that. I deal with it on a regular basis. And I know what kind of response I get from NFIP, the National Flood Insurance Program, and FEMA. If I have a concern or if I have to raise an issue, it takes forever to get anything done when you're an individual. I think the benefit of us being part of SARFA is the work that's being done by a collective agency, a group of people. They have much more strength and have much more of an ability to interact with not only FEMA, NFIP, but with the Army Corps of Engineers. And I think with our participation in this agency, even as short-lived as it's going to be, we're doing a big service indirectly to our constituents. I mean, us lobbying with SARFA is allowed our constituents, especially the ones in the lower areas of Mesa Verde, to not have to buy flood insurance. So the fact that we have a collective effort and we participate in that, in working and helping our constituents, I think is worth the $1,400.
Yeah, I agree 100%. You put it well.
Yep. Any other directors have input?
Okay, Mr. President, I have to say, Vice President Schaefer through a compelling argument. He must have gone to law school too. So I will.
Do I look like a lawyer?
I see. Someone told me once you're allowed to change your mind when new information comes before you. So I appreciate that explanation. And, you know, for another year, I guess I can go along with that. So thank you.
Mr. President, can you hear me now?
Wait a minute. I'm just gonna make a comment, Arlene, real quick. That's the sign of a smart person, Brett. So keep it up.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Arlene.
Okay, first of all, I'm sorry to say that I was muted. And so that's every time I couldn't understand why you didn't recognize me. Now I understand. But Nalani put something on there so I could see. I'd like to comment that you know, one thing about us being with SARFA all this time, we've been very active between Jim Ferryman and between Art. They've been faithfully going to everything, even when we have meetings, and we're heard through them. And that's important that we are actually doing well. And being that it will be over anyway, I would think that we should continue this one more year, because we're getting some benefit out of it. But at the same time, I'd like to see what else of a benefit we'd get if we kept going on it. In other words, what else do we have? Because if we don't have anything else after the year, we can kind of delete it. That's it.
Okay. Any other directors need to weigh in? Staff, do you have direction? This is the receive and file, right?
Yes, just receive and file. Yes.
Okay, then we can go on to the item number 4, which is receive and file the third quarter budget review.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Caitlin Tran, our finance manager, will be giving this report.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. In front of you is the third quarter budget review for fiscal year 2020-21. Based on the spending trends through March 31st, staff is projecting savings in expenditures in both the solid waste and wastewater funds. As of March 31st, a total of 71.2% of the solid waste budget has been expended. At this time, staff anticipates a budgetary savings of $268,300 at the fiscal year end. I will highlight some of the accounts that staff estimates to be over and under budget by the end of the year. The trash hauler account, not many new accounts added during the fiscal year. Staff projects this account to have a savings of $54,000. The recycling disposal account, overall, recycling disposal is up 6.2% compared to this time last fiscal year. Staff anticipates this account to be over budget by $18,000. The projected savings from the trash hauler account mentioned earlier will offset this overage. The organics disposal account, the schedule in the report shows the organics tonnage as of March 31st. Overall, the current fiscal year, organics disposal is up 246.56 tons compared to this time last year. However, if you just look at the third quarter tonnage, it has decreased compared to January through March of last year. It is difficult to say why it decreased in the last 3 months. Staff anticipates the tonnage will continue to decrease, and this account will be under budget by $29,900. The special programs amended budget of $137,500 is projected to have a savings of $105,000 by fiscal year end. A total of 64.5% of the wastewater fund operating budget has been expended as of March 31st. At this time, staff anticipate a budgetary savings of $340,900. The district is in the process of recruiting for the wastewater maintenance position while hiring temporary staff from a staffing agency, as Scott mentioned earlier. Staff anticipates the personnel account will have a savings of $162,900. In the public info education community promotion account, just for your information, the district donated $50,000 to the city of Costa Mesa in the third quarter for the homeless shelter restroom. Professional development training account, in-person conferences and training have been canceled due to COVID-19. As a result, staff projects this account to have a savings of $54,700. Now I will go over the revenue accounts. General fund, the district budgeted $326,000 in property tax revenue this fiscal year and has received approximately $233,000 as of March 31st. The solid waste revenue annual charge account has a budget of approximately $5.6 million. In August 2020, the total amount placed on the assessment after corrections were made was about $5.4 million, which is $200,000 less than what was budgeted. The wastewater revenue annual charge account has a budget of approximately $5.6 million. As of March 31st, the district received approximately $3.7 million. The district is expected to receive the second large apportionment in April, which is this month. Staff anticipates revenue in the sewer permits, inspection fees, investment earnings, and charges for services account will be under budget by the end of the fiscal year. the projected savings in the solid waste fund and the wastewater fund expenditures will offset the projected revenue shortfall by the end of the fiscal year. And this concludes my report. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do any of the directors have questions on this item? If not, then we'll move on to, thank you, Caitlin. We'll move on to item number 5, which is receive and file the annual performance measurement report, first quarter. Scott, will you be giving this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Just real briefly, this is your first quarter on the performance measurement report, and we go based on the calendar year. So this is from January through March. I believe President Uten had some concerns the way it was reporting. It can be a little bit confusing when you're looking at the first 3 months worth of data during the last 2 years of data. So one thing I think I can do when I do the second quarter, which will be 6 months worth of data, we do have a lot of data collected now from previous years. So when we do the first 6 months of 2021, I can compare the first 6 months of 2020 and 2019 to kind of compare apples to apples. If that makes it easier, we can do it that way.
Well, yeah, you know, Scott, it's just confusing when you have annual data for 4 or 5 years, and then you have quarterly data, and
Sure.
and the line is connected to the dot. You know, it took me a while, you know, to read and try to understand, you know, to figure out, you know, why it appeared we were so we were you know, way off from meeting the annual numbers. It's when you compare the annual numbers to quarterly numbers, you can't put them on the same chart without different explanation. But
okay, it's fair enough.
Do any of the directors have questions on the annual performance measures?
I have just one quick question, Bob, for Scott. Obviously, Scott, it's got to do with our EMOD on workers' comp.
Yes.
What kind of programs? Let me rephrase. What are we doing about this?
Well, unfortunately, you know, we could do all the training we could do all the training possible, but sometimes there's just actions that we just cannot foresee or prevent. We had, like I said, I mentioned in the report, we had one employee that fell off the truck, and another one that hurt his back lifting the wet well gate. So typically when we have an employee that gets injured, we do some retraining, which we've done regarding lifting manhole covers or lifting pump station wet well doors. We did just finish retraining that, or retraining employees on, you know, safely debarking on the units, on the sewer combination units, which can be awfully high. So yeah, that's what we've done, and that's why we had those two. So we just keep retraining and retraining.
Okay, I expected that's what you were doing. I mean, I think your original comment about we don't have a lot of control over this, that's true. I mean, you can't handhold and babysit every employee, you know, the whole time they're on shift. I just think we need to continue to drill into all of them and take a look. You know, a lot of companies put signs up to say, you know, we've gone 47 days without an injury. You know, I don't know about all that. I don't know if we need to do all that, but I just think we need to constantly remind staff, especially the field staff, that injuries are expensive, not only for what it does to our premiums and things, but it's expensive to them as well. Lost time and injury. I guess my point is just keep reinforcing it, and let's see if we can get on a good streak.
Definitely.
Okay. Scott, do you have any historical reference? Is the same employee involved in, say, the last 5 years in the number of the incidents?
No, it's different employees. It's not the same one.
Yeah, but in the last 5 years, have any of the safety incidents been repeated? Anyway, historically, I think
I don't believe so, Mr. President Newton. I don't believe that they've been repeated, to be honest with you.
Well, we had enough this year that seemed to significantly affect our insurance premium.
It was those two incidents because it was so costly. That's why, you know, you know, the employees had to get some physical therapy, right? And that gets very expensive. And that's why our EMOD got high because of those expensive injuries.
Okay. One injury, Bob, can throw the EMOD. You know, I'm sure you're aware, can throw your EMOD, and depending on the cost, I mean, one injury can do it. I was thinking, if we use these employees from OTS, is the workers' comp on OTS or on us?
It's on OTS.
Maybe we should hire all of our employees temporary on OTS.
Not at their rate.
I do have to admit,
cheap, but you know,
I do have to admit, you know, since we moved to our new facility, definitely our workers' comp has gone down, because the old facility we had stairs, and believe it or not, we had so more people trip and fall on those stairs than people getting hurt out in the field, and so going to that single story, you know, new HQ has greatly cut down our injuries at HQ.
Yeah, well documented too.
Well, it probably cuts down on the director's injuries also, but
Mr. President?
No, Director Eccles.
I have a comment and then a question. First, following up on Vice President Schaefer, just, you know, with my own employees and what we do, our EMR, I mean, that can go one way or the other real quick, as he pointed out. And just a reminder to the employees that, Scott, when you're talking with them and all that, you know, with my company, it's about profit share and bonuses. That's a real big incentive. Now, I know that isn't here, but when we're talking budget items and, you know, new things for the, you know, that's exciting for employees typically, get new equipment or new things to make their jobs better. If they're safer and, you know, intentionally and all that, they get new nice stuff when we review for budgets, and we can hire more people, things like that. So maybe that's something I'm sure you're already doing, but just as a, you know, that's an incentive for an employee to get new stuff. Our board can approve that if our EMR, because that will kill a budget quick, a high EMR. So
yeah, definitely.
And then second, Scott, I had a question it's on page 28 of 36, and it's the cost effectiveness, comparing monetary costs to quantifiable benefits. Can you just run this one through about the 7% and the annual solid waste rate increase and can you just help me understand that a little bit, where it's in the red of 7%?
Sure.
And we're utilizing reserves and all that.
Well, the 7% is the increase. You're talking about the solid waste rate increase. Is that what you're referring to? Yeah. So the 7% was based on the solid waste study that we did a couple of years ago.
Right.
So that's what that 7% is. It was an increase of 7% that year versus compared to what the CPI was from February to February. So if you look at the wastewater side, right, the wastewater has been stable for the last 3 years. So obviously that cost is at 0%, where the CPI was, I forget what it was. I don't have the report in front of me right now, but it was below the CPI, which meet that objective. Obviously on the solid waste side, we didn't do that because our increase, the board approved the 5-year rate increase, and the next couple of years that those rates are going to increase 7% a year.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Move to the last item is receive and file the 2025 strategic plan quarterly update. Scott, are you going to lead this discussion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I really don't have any presentation. Again, this is just your standard report to give you an idea of the progress we're making. Also, just as a reiteration that when we adopt the strategic plan, we just don't put it on the shelf and let it collect dust. We make sure we try to achieve the goals and move towards achieving our vision. This is, again, just your quarterly report, and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do any of the directors have questions on this report?
One quick one. Under the solid waste, we had talked about 2.8, the compost giveaway event. We're kind of holding that in abeyance until OCSD can help us with that, aren't we?
Well, no, the composting event is the partnership we have CR at OCC.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was thinking about when we went to the open house at OCSD and they gave us all a bag, or not the open house, the annual
State of the District.
Yeah. Okay. This is the one through CR&R then.
Right, CR&R, which we had one, I think 2019. Yeah. So we're just on hold right now until we get the green light from county health officials.
Perfect. Okay, thanks. Oh, what I didn't see it, or maybe I missed it on the household, the drug thing. You know, the police department, fire department, police department did a collection last Saturday.
Yes.
Do we anticipate reopening ours as soon as we get back to a normal open facility, or?
Well, no, that was part of, if you recall, that was part of the budget we cut out because police departments are now accepting prescription drugs. We recommending, again, if you approve, that's our recommendation to remove that program.
Okay, I apologize. I didn't remember that, but that's fine. Thanks, Bob.
In that regard, are we going to help the city highlight, that change? And the city should amp up the social media and staff presentations and the 1 minute whatever, to highlight that.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, we'll go on to receive and file the capital improvements project report. Do any of the directors have questions on this report? If not, we'll deem it received and filed. Item number 2 is award the contract for project number 326, the 19th Street sewer force main replacement.
Mr. President?
Yes, Director Eccles.
I'm out of abundance of caution, I need to recuse myself from this discussion because one of the contractors who bid on this potentially, and I'm not sure yet, could be a subsidiary of a contractor we do business with. I don't know that to be true, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. So a question for Noelani. I mean, I need to leave the room. So how best should we do this?
I think she can set it up so you can leave the room, and then Noelani, can we, when the discussion is concluded, can we notify him to come back?
Sure.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Eccles.
Okay, he's been placed in the waiting room.
Okay. Is Mark going to lead this discussion, or Scott?
I'm happy to lead this discussion if you'd like, Mr. Carroll.
Yes, please do, Mr. Esker.
Okay. My recommendation, President Newton, Board of Directors, would be to award a contract for installing 2 force mains to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, GCI Construction, Inc., in the amount of $297,000. And I'd like you to approve a contingency of 10% in the amount of $29,700. Now, generally speaking, the work consists of replacing the 19th Street pump station force main and comprises about 800 feet from the pump station up to Whittier Avenue, where we'll be tying into the downstream manhole, but it's uphill from the pump station. The contractors were required to bid on 2 alternatives. One alternative was to install 1 force main. The second alternative was to install 2 force mains. Our preference was to install 2 force mains for redundancy purposes because this is only they're 4-inch force mains. And so that would reduce the risk of spills while performing maintenance work, or if there's a stoppage or something gets jammed up into one pipe, we can switch over while we try to clear the pipeline. So the bids were favorable, and so instead of awarding to the primary option of 1 force main to stay within budget, the bids were so favorable, I'm recommending that we go ahead and award to install 2 force mains in the same trench. So basically we received bids from 6 contractors. Bids were opened on March 25th, and they range from $237,000 for low bid up to $422,000 for the highest bid that was submitted. The engineer's estimate for this project is about $321,000 for 1 force main, and it's $355,000 for 2 force mains. The low bidder amounts for this project, both the low bidders primary of 1 force main and alternative bid of 2 force mains, both of those were lower than the engineer's estimates. Now we have checked the licensing requirements for the low bidder, GCI Construction. They've actually completed a number of projects for the districts over the past several years, and we found that everything is in order, and therefore we're recommending to award a contract to GCI for installing 2 force mains, not to exceed $297,000. And again, to approve a contingency of 10% in the amount of $29,700 for performing the construction services or things that are unforeseen during construction. We would have a little extra money for that. With that, President Newton, I'll open up to your questions or questions from the Board of Directors.
Do any directors have questions on this project or input?
I just have a quick question. It's going to Whittier Street. Does it start below Whittier Street, closer to the Santa Ana River, and goes to Whittier Street, or the other direction?
I don't know which direction that the contractor will be performing their work. As far as we are concerned, they could go in either direction. But if you do have a preference, I'd be happy to pass that along to the contractor. But the bid is based on however they have planned on performing the work. And I don't know which direction that will be taking place.
Director Perry, did that answer your question?
Yeah, because I used to go down Whittier Street all the time, right? That's where I lived. And I'm just curious which direction that was going.
Yeah, do you know
curiosity. Go ahead, Mark. I
was going to say I'm a dumb engineer, and typically I'll start from the pump station, and how we designed it is to work upstream to the discharge point. But, contractors, when it comes to money, they'll do it whatever way is least expensive.
Okay, that answers my question.
Mark, this is replacing an old ACP force main. And this is two new force mains in the same trench? Yes. Okay, and it's 800 feet of line.
Yeah, the trenching operation is a little over 800 feet, but if you add 2 force mains to that trench, it's probably 16, almost 1,700 feet of pipeline.
Yeah. Any other directors have questions on this? If not, do I have a recommendation to approve? Or
I'll move approval.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed or abstentions? Director Eccles, would he be listed? Nolani, would he be listed as an abstention on this, or
yes, he will.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Let me bring him back into the room.
Yes, please.
Director Eccles, are you back?
I am, thank you.
There you go.
Director Echols, we approved the low bid GCI for a dual force main installation.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, let's go on to approve the investment report for the month of March 2021.
Thanks, Mr. President.
Do any of the directors have questions? Or Scott, were you starting to talk?
No, Mark, Mr. President, that was myself. This is your quarterly pullout of the investment report for discussion. And so I'm just going to walk through real quickly what's going on in the markets and in your portfolio. The market today, the Dow was down 62 points, but on the year as a whole, it's up about 3350 points, or about 11% on the year. Looking at the Treasury on the government side, the Treasury at the beginning of the year was at 0.36%. That's the 5-year Treasury. And today it was trading at 0.85%. Our portfolio has been dropping since the pandemic, a little bit slower than the markets have been dropping. But as many of our investments have call features on them, and so as those call dates come, the government agencies are exercising those calls, and so we're seeing our portfolio start to drop. We started the year at 0.699%. We're 3 months in, we're at 0.603%. Right before the pandemic, we were at 1.785%. So it's a big drop since that time. And how that translates into investment earnings, for each 1% that the portfolio drops, and we're about 1.1% right now from a year ago, that costs the district about $190,000 in lost investment earnings. This was a pretty busy month, being a quarter end. From an investing standpoint, we had 3 certificates of deposit that matured on the year. We also had 3 investments that were called, 1 certificate of deposit, 1 Federal Farm Credit Bank, and 1 Freddie Mac was called. All of those items, the CDs that were maturing, they were all 1-year CDs, and they ranged at 1.1 to 1.25% in rate. The investments that were called, we had the CD was called after 1 year, and it was 1.5%, and the farm credit was a 5-year farm credit that was called after 1 year. It was at 1.125, and the Freddie Mac was at 1.25. We did replace all of those. We invested 5 investments, new purchases this month. The highest rate we've been able to get is 1.05, which is actually up quite significantly from the last several months. So that was nice to see a little bit of a turn, but it's going to be a while before we see the portfolio start to perform better. The duration of the portfolio is about 2.5 years right now in average maturity. And that is all I had that I wanted to highlight. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Do any of the directors have questions?
Mr. President, I do.
Director Echols.
Hey, Mark, just in general, the market itself over the past year has done pretty well in general, the overall market. What would be the difference in our, we took a bit of a hit during this past year in our portfolio. What are the primary 2 or 3 things that might have contributed to that?
Well, the other than the pandemic, the biggest thing for us is we can only invest in certain types of investments that are prescribed by the California Government Code, and those are primarily fixed income securities. Our primary investments are in U.S. government agency securities and negotiable certificates of deposit. That's where we spend most of our dollars in there. As the stock market goes up, when interest in the stock is doing well, then the fixed income securities tend to go in the inverse proportion. So when we see the stock market go pretty good, we'll see money will shift there. There'll be less interest in the bond market, and so our rates will end up going down. And we never sell those securities. As we'll see market value go down, we never sell those securities at a loss unless something happens that we need the cash to be able to do that. But the board has put in a requirement that at least 20% of the portfolio has to mature within 1 year. And so there's certain parameters like that that we will need to that guide us in our investing decisions that do hamper us just a little bit in what we can earn from a investment perspective. Just as a look ahead, we will be, you'll get a chance to discuss the investment policy at your June meeting. It will be brought to you for consideration for the June meeting, and we can talk in more detail at that point about philosophy and things like that if you'd like.
No, that's perfect. So if the bond are tied to bonds is the bulk of the portfolio is what you're saying, basically. That's correct. Okay, great. Thanks, Mark.
Welcome.
Do any other directors have any questions or input? If not, this is a receive and file, or no? Do we need a motion on this?
Yes, this is an action item.
Okay.
I'll move for approval of the investment report.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Or okay, let's move on down to local meetings. We don't have an attorney's report, so let's move on down.
Mr. President?
Yes, Alan.
I just wanted to remind the board about the case was decided last month about the prevailing wages being required to be paid to trash sorters, and that could have an impact on our wages for our solid waste collector, and that the Supreme Court came to that conclusion, but it seemed to suggest that maybe we should fix this by a legislative solution. And I was just mentioning it so that the board and staff and whoever within our organization handles those kind of matters could look into whether or not we wanted to try and see if there was one of our associations would get behind trying to get a legislative solution for that, so we didn't end up paying higher rates because of a decision that was maybe not correctly decided.
Do any of the other directors have questions on what Alan just said?
Mr. President,
Director Echols?
I would agree with Alan's opinion to direct staff to look at those alternatives to support legislation through our lobbying efforts.
Okay, I think the board.
Yeah, it's not an action item. I just wanted to remind everyone about that decision last month, and I think it could come from staff what an action plan would be to try and get that corrected.
Well, I'm sure CSDA probably will be looking into it, and so we need to track the associations that we belong to legislatively, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Any other input, Alan?
No, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll go on to local meetings. I'll do the Orange County 10 District briefly. I attended the Operations Committee meeting, and that was basically just plant and sewer aging infrastructure projects, and they are also working on. They purchased property across from the Fountain Valley Regional Plant number 1, and they're building a new headquarters over there. I got to attend my first GWRS meeting, and GWRS is a facility that Orange County Water District operates using Orange County 10 District secondary effluent. They presently produce 100 million gallons a day of drinking water for Northern Orange County. The second phase is what we heard about in the meeting, and there is a second phase being constructed that'll expand the production to 130 MGD, and I believe that comes online in 2023. So, and I've also participated in the Orange County 10 District strategic planning session. We've had 3 different sessions, and one of the things that I highlighted, asked them to put in those future strategic plan was some consideration for helping the 25 member agencies with their aging infrastructure to reduce the amount of I&I, which has historically done some damage to Orange County Sand District. And, you know, they're spending a ton of money on mainly rehabilitation projects. And I think they need to pay attention to, and have in the past paid attention to helping the member agencies control their I&I input from inflow and to the sewers during rainstorms. And I'll attend the board meeting next Wednesday. So go on down to SARFA, Director Perry. Art, are you muted?
Okay, yeah, I was muted. Yeah, there's no meeting this month.
Let's go on to the ISDOC, Secretary Schaefer.
Okay. ISDOC was on March the 2nd. And at that meeting, we had, let's see, who is it? Yorba Linda Water District is going to be talking at this meeting. They will be speaking at this ISDOC meeting that's coming up on the 29th. So we talked about that. And the funny, oh, no, I shouldn't say it that way. The speaker is someone we all know, which is Rick Francis. And he used to be with the city as assistant city manager. And so he'll be speaking about the airport, which will be interesting for everybody. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of comments and questions about the flying and what you can do and not do. And then let's see what else was there. The Ledge Days is May 18th to the 19th, which is, we had an early bird chance to hop in there. Now it's over, so that anyone who's trying for the early bird, it's discontinued. Then we talked about there's two speakers. One is going to be highlighted by the special districts, and that will be Brooke Jones from, actually he's with Yorba Linda Water District, and he will be speaking about their water district, which is always interesting to see someone else's special district, how they handle everything. So that'll be then. And then we also have Dick Ackerman, which is former Senator Dick Ackerman, and he will be our associate member now. And so I'll give a little bio on him too. And so it'll be really worthwhile to see. And then I just had told everybody about the workshops, that it is free for any member of CSDA. And so anyone who wants to hop in there and take advantage of it, it's a good way to get educated on special districts. And then the study session was on March 9th. And at that time, 310 was Alliance Executive Council, which our president is Mike Schaefer. And then on 316 was, Bob Wooten and I got together on a one-to-one with the manager. And then 321 was a government affairs committee. And Newport Beach invited me to come to that meeting. And our speaker was, or their speaker, I should say, was Mike Carey. And he did he did a good job, very good job. In fact, I'm looking forward to him coming to us and speaking, but it was nice to see how the trash is done in another city, and his comments that he did a good job on that. And let's see, what else is there? There's the bridge. I don't know I think only Art Perry and I went to it. And this was the ribbon cutting for the shelter, the bridge shelter. And it's going to be, it's so beautiful. I mean, you should really get to see it. IKEA has furnished it and it's worthwhile. So it was a very closed session where only Newport Beach and Costa Mesa was invited as far as the different people, and then legislators, some of the legislators. And we got to do a walkthrough, which was very worthwhile. And then let's see, what else is there? CSDA has a ledge committee on the 26th that I attended. And then on the, there was another one that I attended on CSDA with a finance committee that I sit on. So that's about it, aside from the nominations that are now open. And I don't know if Scott has taken care of it or not, but it's going to be closed as of May 14th. So we'll just have to get approval pretty soon on the nominations for like the best secretary of the year and treasurer of the year and that kind of thing. So I think in your workshop or your flyers that you see, you will see the names listed. And then also the other is that there are 9 candidates for seat A, which is CSDA's board. And Joe McKenzie is the one whose her seat is up. So counting her as 9 people running. So wow, that's really a mixture. So we'll see what happens on that. But we should be voting soon on that if we haven't. It should be on the one of our agendas. That's it.
Thank you. Vice President Schaefer on SDRMA, do you have a report?
We have our board meeting next week, so I don't really have anything to report at this point. We have a couple of closed session items that we talked about earlier in the month, but I won't go into that. So I'll have a better SDRMA report next month.
Okay, I have a couple of meetings, other meetings. I attended the Waco meeting, and there was a SAPA staff member presented interesting discussion on cloud seeding behind the Prado Dam. You know, and it's important, you know, because the drought has impacts that affect our sewage flows. But I think the cloud seeding is mainly impacts water behind the Prado Dam. I also want to echo what Sue Lester said about the SEPA presentation. I thought Mike Ballier's explanation of AB 1383, I've understood it, I think, for the first time. Better understood it. I probably need to hear that again. I did record it and I will listen to it. Scott and I and Director Schaefer met with State Senator David Mim on the 23rd. And we basically told him about some of our concerns. And, you know, he's new. Everybody's trying to educate him. And so what we'll do is we have an in with him to talk about what state regulations can pose for CSDA. And then we have coming up, like Arlene said, on the 29th is DISDOC, and we've yet to attend. District City Liaison meeting was postponed until April 30th. This meeting is proactive, to keep the 2 special districts, or the 3, and the school district and the city up to date on activities, and inform the others about impacts that may occur on one agency or city's impact on the other districts. And that's what I have. Do any of the other directors have meetings that they need to report on?
This is Mike. I'd like to report one other meeting. I think you all know that I'm the ISDOC representative on the Orange County Council of Governments, OCOG. We had a meeting last Thursday, our monthly meeting, and couple of things that came up during that meeting that I just wanted to let everybody know. First, most of the talk at OCOG has been regarding the Regional Housing Needs Assessment, or RHNA, and the affordable housing element that the cities are all looking at. Now, remember that OCOG is primarily the cities. What's really strange is the one city that never goes to OCOG meetings is the city of Costa Mesa. In my 3 or 4 years of sitting on that board, no one from the city of Costa Mesa ever attends an OCOG meeting. Now, the most recent member from the city council is Katrina Foley. So city council has to get a replacement, but doesn't matter who they replace them with, they never show up. The other thing I wanted to ask staff, Gina probably more than anybody, is these affordable housing elements start coming down from the state and the cities have to start implementing them, I'd be curious to see what effect that's going to have on us as an agency. Are we going to be required to reduce fixture fees and some of our fees because of the affordable housing element? I'd like to see if we can get some information on that, if we can. The other thing is, one of the speakers at OCOG Thursday was Mike Larakos. And I'm not sure how many of you, I know Brett obviously wasn't on the board, but do you remember, all of you, when we had a report from Mike Larakos? And he's the guy that runs the, and Mike Carey, if you're still there, you may remember the name of the organization, but Mike Larakos is the guy that collected restaurant food and everything and spread it through the county. Yes. Okay, so they've renamed their organization. It's now called Abound, A-B-O-U-N-D. And one of the things that Mike talked about in his presentation was how Abound is working hard to get cities to recognize AB 1383 and the organic waste element. So it might be worthwhile for us to reach out to Mike and see what he can do to help us with our organics recycling, and in terms of what it'll do to help increase our percentage. So just some thoughts for staff and for Mike Carey to kind of give us some direction. That's it.
Yeah, he did a good.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell you that the meetings that I report on from Orange County Sand District are not reimbursable by Costa Mesa Sanitary District. They're, and I do remember one item that I probably should have talked about, and that is Orange County Sand District is taking in food waste, some 125 tons or something, and they're going to distribute that. They believe they'll distribute that to the 25 member agencies, and that could increase our diversion numbers by 4 or 5% if my calculations are correct. And so we could be up near 70% from the 62 or 3% that we were diverting prior to the pandemic, when everything is back near normal. But that's an important step. And then also CR&R, I've asked staff to look into CR&R's Paris facility to see if we can get some piece of that pie to increase Costa Mesa Sanitary District recycling numbers to meet the new 1383 regs. Any other directors need to report on any meetings?
President, I just wanted to ask you, you talked about the liaison meeting being rescheduled. Did you say what time?
I think it's 7:30.
You sure?
I think.
Usually,
Mr. President, we did receive communication from the city saying that their attendees are not able to meet on the 30th. So the group is now looking to move the meeting to Friday, May 7th.
Okay, so news at 11.
You have a time on that?
I believe the school district is still asking for 7:30.
Really? Can we ask the school district to have their own meetings from now on?
Did you wish to place that on the agenda? We can include
No,
that.
ma'am, do not. We've had a lot of disappointment with the school district being able to participate. And when it was just the 3 city, water district, and us, it seemed like the meetings went a lot smoother and were more frequent. So I think we need to re-examine whether the school district ought to be involved. Just my thought. And I don't want that on the agenda. Don't you dare.
Yeah.
I think the school district could be a good vehicle for us for getting information out in the future, though. That's why I think it's good to have them on board.
Any other directors?
I agree, Art.
Yeah. Any other directors need to make input on the meetings they attended?
Well, I'm going to submit mine in writing, Bob, but I want to let you know that one of the city council meetings, the city's doing a pretty good job on their sustainability report involving commercial waste and recycling of organic waste. They're working diligently to improve what they're doing. So I think that's something when we do meet with the city, we can find out. And they presented a video presentation of it. And I think it's going to be really good for us and the city.
Yeah, I'm glad you're meeting with that. I'm going to meet with the sustainability person, I believe, next week. You know,
okay.
to get up to speed.
Go ahead, Arthur.
President, I just wanted to add that I ran out of room, but I did attend the Waco meeting, and I thought that was very interesting too. I got a lot out of that.
Any other directors need to make reports on?
While we're talking about the Waco meeting, you know, I was there too, but the two, you know, that Mark Norton from the Santa Ana Watershed Project, the Idaho cloud seeding, and Santa Ana River that's a proposed program, I think, it's going to cost $402,000. It's going to do, but it can increase up to 12,000 acre feet of water from the cloud seeding. So I think it's a valuable tool that hopefully that we can use.
Yeah, I think they've piloted it, and I think the recommendation is to potentially expand it. But
right.
Okay. Any other directors need to make input?
Nope.
Then let's go down to oral communications and director comments. Do any of the directors have any further input that they need to make?
Just wanted to make. I just wanted to say about the Special Districts magazine. Did you get it? I hope. And if you did, the centerfold is us, Costa Mesa Sanitary District Residential Organics and Recycling Program. It's excellent.
Did that come out already? I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either.
Check it out. It's very good. And also,
Arlene, I'm not sure I want to see Bob in a centerfold though.
Well, I think there's logic to that, both for and against. But
also, I wanted to comment on what Sue said. You know, on that environmental virtual we saw. That was excellent. It was just the whole presentation was really good.
Yeah, and it's available if you want to look at it again.
Oh, good.
Any other comments?
Mr. President?
Director Eccles.
Just two. I just wanted to, again, thank Caitlin, who has been just crushing, giving us information. I know it's like, this is big time right now for her, and I just really appreciate you, Caitlin, for really putting together thorough and good information for us to analyze. And I know it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. We have a few meetings. So I just want to thank you and appreciate your help in the budget review coming up.
Yeah, I would second that. Any other directors want to need?
And then one last item, just in general, great news, I think, since school board took a little bit of beating a minute ago. The kids are back in school. The middle school and high schoolers start tomorrow. The elementary started this last week, and just my personal feeling is that's a wonderful step forward for our kids and our community and getting through this COVID disaster we've been dealing with. So to see a little bit of normalcy coming back, that's exciting news that the kids are back, and hopefully I'll get to see all of you in person and our boardroom. It'll be my first time in there as an elected. So hopefully in July, we'll get to be able to do that. So thank you.
Well, make sure Scott knows that you need your sign.
I want a functioning button that so I could vote yes or no.
We don't need no stinking buttons. We have no buttons in there.
All right. Well, a working microphone.
All right.
Hey, President, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
When you guys were talking about the new liaison meeting with the school board, what date were you thinking about having that?
I think Nalani said May 6th.
Okay, that's our study session date.
It would be Friday, the first Friday in May.
That's
May
Waco.
7th.
That's Waco.
That's Waco.
That's the Waco meeting on the 7th.
Okay, so that would not work for the board? No.
Not really, because Waco is pretty important, I think. I mean, I'm just throwing that out. I mean, whatever happens, happens, but it would be a conflict.
Okay.
Any other input?
Just whatever works out, let us know.
Yeah. If not, this meeting will be adjourned. Thank you very much for your participation and good input.
Thank you.
everyone.
Good
Good
job.
night.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.